Hey, morning. Here we are. We're live. I'm back. I had a week off last week on holiday, but I'm back today. And so back to answer more property finance questions. So this is a regular thing that I do pretty much, apart from holidays and bank holidays, pretty much every Monday morning. Same time, about 8:30, just about thereabouts. A little bit late again. I'm just going to get rid of that little message over there. A few minutes late getting there because I've got to put my tea on Bibles. I've got to put the kettle on. So we are. So I like to have my cup of tea ready. There we are. And there we are. So Keith, you obviously been watching before a few times because you said, "Have you got your cup of tea ready?" Ha ha. I have. There you go. So there we are. And I'll be sipping on that as we go through. So, hey, you've had 2 weeks now to think up questions that you want answered on property finance. So what is it you want to know? Just pop that in the chat box. And hey, I tell you what, while we wait for people to do that, let me just tell you about a Facebook group that I've got. Let's have a look. Now I've got a Facebook group where, because you might have a question during the week, mightn't you? You might not, and you might not be able to wait until next Monday morning. I'm just cutting and pasting some stuff and putting it in here. There we are. I'm going to put it on my screen in a minute. And you might think, well, I want an answer a bit quicker than that. Well, I've got the place for you. I've got the Recycle Your Cash BRR for Property Investors Facebook group. Maybe you're a member there already. Over 3,000 people are. And people can fire questions in there during the week. So how do you join? Well, here we are. Let me show you. So you just go onto Facebook, /groups, /Recycle Your Cash. And hey, why don't you join? There we are. And then you haven't got to store them up all for Monday. We had a good question in there last week. I might cut and paste that actually, and show you that. Yeah, property finance. What do you want to know? And I'll be very happy to answer it because hey, I spent over 20 years brokering every type of property finance, hundreds of deals, literally hundreds of deals. And do you know what? Hey, it's nice to share knowledge, isn't it? It's nice to share knowledge, and I'm happy to do that. I've spent, years acquiring it, so why would I keep it all to myself? That'd be a pretty selfish thing to do, wouldn't it? And I don't do that. So last week, what was I doing last week? I was out in Mallorca, and that was, you could call it holiday because I was lying on a Sunday, but it's my strategy and implementation week. So I just sort of, it's great. It's almost like a retreat, if you like, but it's not. I'm not isolated in a cave or something up a mountain, but it's a way of just taking a week out to just think about all the things about the business and what I want to do with it over the rest of this year. So there we are. So hey, got a question? Fire it in and let me answer it. And we've got a question coming in here now. We've got Mike Smith. Hello, Mike. Thank you for your question. Good morning, Kevin. Hope you're well. I am. Yeah. Very well. Thank you. We're looking at renting out a room in our house. Okay. Do we have to tell the mortgage provider, and will we need an AST to protect us if the tenant decides not to move? This is a really good question because they're not a tenant, they're a lodger. So very different rules apply, Mike, to renting a room in your own house to renting out separately in a house that you don't live in. It's a whole different ball game. In fact, it's when I first started in property, many years ago, first thing I did was rent out rooms in my house to lodgers. Now, a lodger doesn't have the same sort of rights as an AST tenant. So you would not need an AST, and you'd be wrong to give your lodger an AST because you're giving them rights they don't have. Now, a lodger typically shares your facilities, so at least your bathroom and kitchen facilities. So they're not self-contained. They've just got a room in your house. So they lodge with you rather than rent from you. Really big difference. So the tenant cannot decide not to move because they don't have that right of tenure. So that's the first thing. You don't use an AST. You might be able to find a lodger's license, which is a much more simplistic rental agreement. You might want to Google that, see what you can find. Or Google, use ChatGPT, and that's what we do now. In fact, you could probably ask ChatGPT to create you a lodger's license, but you should be able to find them online. So that's the first thing. Second, should you tell your mortgage provider, your mortgage lender? Well, it wouldn't hurt, but they're usually very open. Most mortgage lenders have in their terms and conditions the provision that you can have up to 2 lodgers in your house, no problems. Good news on that. There's one thing you haven't highlighted here, but I'm going to tell you about it. Tax relief. Now, the great news is HMRC allows you to earn money from renting a room in your house out tax-free. Now, how about that? And so it's called the Rent-A-Room Scheme. So look up the Rent-A-Room Scheme, and this will allow you in your, you probably need to put it in your tax return, I would think. That's not my area of expertise, so don't quote me on that. But you can earn £7,500 a year, completely free of tax. So that's pretty good, isn't it? So yes, you can rent a room in your house. You have to take a lodger, not a tenant. You use a lodger's license, not an AST. You can just check with your mortgage lender that it's okay, but typically they would let you have no objection to doing that, let you rent to that plus one other, and you can earn £7,500 of that rent that the lodger pays you. The first £7,500 are free of tax. Good. So, great question. Good question to start it off. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike. And now we've got Keith. Hey, Keith, yes. So Keith was the one that said earlier about my cup of tea. Still here, Keith. Still here. There was a question the other week about a hunter's license. Okay. Am I right in saying that you buy with the hunter's license to enable you to get it cheaper than a mortgage, then remortgage it to a normal mortgage? Yeah. Okay. So hunter's license is a term. You know, it's not the official term, shall we say? It's called a line of credit. Is what it really is. So it's an extended loan facility. If you're watching this and you think, what the hell is a hunter's license? Let me enlighten you. So it's an extended loan facility based on equity in a property or properties that you already own that allow you to just have a drawdown facility. You know, is it like an approved overdraft type of thing? So, you've got 100,000 or 200,000 or 300,000 pounds worth of spare equity in a property that you own. Could be your main residence, doesn't have to be. And the lender has approved you for a loan. It could be 2 years, 3 years, or sometimes 5 years. And you get the literally the freedom to draw it in, pay it out, draw it out, pay it in, draw it out, pay it in, draw it out, pay it in part or in whole, with impunity, as many times as you like throughout that. And you only pay interest on the time that you're actually using the money. The rest of the time, it just sits waiting for you to find a deal. So if you've got a lot of equity in properties that you own, B, if you're pretty active in buying property, whether it's to sell it on for a profit or to refinance it and pull your cash out, if you're pretty active on that, rather than just arranging the finance on a cross-collateral basis and paying it off and then arranging it again and then paying it off and then arranging it again and repeatedly doing the same thing over a 2, 3 or 5 year period, then a line of credit could be preferential. Now Keith knows what it is because he's asking me about it. But for you, if you're watching and you think, what the hell was that? There's your explanation. Just a little bit of backstory history. They used to be very prevalent pre-credit crunch in the early 2000s, and then they disappeared pretty much. They disappeared with the credit crunch, and it's only the last probably 3 or so years, really, that they've made a reappearance. Different lenders. Back then it used to be major banks, but now it's bridging lenders will do it. And they're broadly bridging rates of interest. So does it enable you to get it cheaper? Well, it should do, because your finance is already approved. You've got to do no legal fees, no valuation fees. You've got to do nothing like that. It's just draw out the money, put it to your solicitor, and your solicitor completes the purchase. Now, if you've got a solicitor that will act in the appropriate speed, and that's not always the easiest thing to get, but look, we're on a Monday morning here. Okay, this is Monday morning. Now, Keith, with a line of credit or a hunter's license, as you refer to it, it's possible to talk to an estate agent today, Monday, and make them an offer on a property based on completing this Friday. Yep. Why could you do that? Because the money is already approved in your account. You can just put it to your solicitor and they can give it to the seller solicitor. Now, you need to do the, certain checks, and you might want to get a valuation or survey done for your own peace of mind. But that would be up to you. But most of these things can be done within a week. They're probably going to cost you more. If you want searches done within a week, it's possible. There are independent search agents that will work, on a 48-hour, 72-hour turnaround. If you pay a solicitor enough money, they'll work fast too. And if you pay a surveyor enough money, they'll come and do it, at a couple of days' notice. But you're probably going to have to pay them more than you would normally pay them. But hey, if you can get it, that these are just ways to make a fast completion. Now, why would that appeal? So if you can complete in a week, then you would think you could use that leverage to buy cheaper. It's not going to work with every seller, of course, because not every seller is motivated to sell quickly. They don't need to sell quickly. But when you can find, here's the point, Keith, when you can find a seller that needs something to happen fast and you're the man that can provide it, that should mean you can get it cheaper. and then you can remortgage it on a normal mortgage once you bought it. Yeah. Now, there's some caveats to that on the remortgage side, Keith, that it's really important to understand. Buying it cheap this week and then applying for a mortgage next week on the basis that, hey, I bought it cheap, can I have it? I don't know, let's just say you bought it £50,000 below value, just to put a figure on it. Can I remortgage it next week, start the remortgage process next week for £50,000 more than I paid for it, just because that's what it's really worth? Well, the answer is not really no. That it's not going to work like that. A couple of things have to happen before you could actually refinance and take true advantage of the fact you bought it £50,000 cheaper because you could move really fast with your line of credit or hunter's license. So first of all, you need to improve the property. Tangible improvements is a phrase, Keith. Tangible improvements. So you need to have made or be able to make tangible improvements. So if you're buying a property that's got some dilapidation around it, then this is a really great way to get it at the right price. So some sort of problem that you can fix, some sort of dilapidation that you can repair, these are good. But if you're buying a property that's in pristine condition, just buying it cheap is probably not going to be successful in allowing you to refinance it at the uplifted value or the true value it should be. You might have a better chance of that if you sit on it for 6 months and with the bridging lender's permission, rent it out. Now that could work. But if, literally just buying it 1 week and refinancing it for X amount higher the next week, it is unlikely to work because lenders want to just see a bit more about what you've done. Good. But hey, really good question. Thank you. So Mike's popped in there. Thanks. He'll get onto that. Great. Good. And good luck with it. And, hope you find a good little lodger there that will give you a bit of extra tax-free income. Good. There you go. And hey, if you've got spare bedrooms in a property and you don't really want to sell, you rather like living there, but you've got 1 or 2 or even more bedrooms, why wouldn't you get a lodger? Might even pay a big chunk of your mortgage if you've still got one. Good. Okay. Keith's back with another question. Keith, so are there any problems with getting a line of credit, being that you're a self-employed carpenter and all the tax relief I give myself? Yeah, I get where you're coming from, Keith. The good news is no problems at all being a self-employed carpenter, because a line of credit is not about your income, Keith. It's about your equity in a property or properties that you own already. So you can get all the tax relief that you like. I know exactly what you're talking about. And you can still have a line of credit. Yeah. And hey, if you're a carpenter, how amazing is that? Because now, hey, look, here's the thing. You want to be focusing on dilapidated properties, Keith. I've on my training programs, I've done a lot of training with people in trades, because they're really good. First of all, how to refurb a property, don't you? And not only that, but you've got mates who do the other bits. You'll have a mate who's a bricker, you'll have a mate who's a sparky, you'll have a mate who's a plumber. So for the bits that you can't do yourself, you'll just pull them in. Okay, you're gonna have to pay them, of course, but so the point is, you can very accurately work out the cost of bringing a property up to value, better than probably almost anyone else. So my big thing, if you haven't checked it out already, is buy, refurb, refinance. Actually, you can see a copy of my book there, just behind me in the bookshelf there. And that's my Amazon bestseller. Go and check that out if you like. Buy Refurb Refinance. You can see it on Amazon. So, I train people to buy a dilapidated or problem property, fix the problem, uplift the value, and then exactly you said, refinance that way. So you, being a carpenter, Keith, you're perfectly placed to do that. So that's really interesting. And you were already in Greece last week. Okay, well, I was in Spain. You were in Greece. You binge watched most of my on your holiday. Really? Wow. Yeah, well, okay. I suppose it beats reading a bit of rubbish novel. What do you call it? Chick light? Is it? I don't know. I don't know. Novels. Hey, why not binge watch my videos rather than reading novels or watching it? Yeah, why not? Okay, well, I appreciate it. I'll take that as quite an honour, Keith, because there's plenty of other things you could have done with your holiday time. Me, I take a couple of personal development books. So I always use that as an opportunity to learn. Yeah, call me a sad old git if you like, but that's what I like to do. That's my feeding my mind, if you want. There we are. That's what I do on holiday. So there we are. So great. Hey, well, if you're into that stuff, then you might want to know about BRR Workshops, Keith. Look, there's a link down there, brrworkshops.com. So I run in-person training events, Keith, and anyone else who happens to watch, in the spring and autumn. I don't do them in the summer and I don't do them in the winter. But when I'm not running them, and I stopped at the end of June and I won't pick up now until October in running in-person live events. But throughout the summer, on a weekly basis, we've got these BRR workshops. Now, what are they? They're simply 3-hour live stream workshops run through Zoom. And you can jump on there. It's just 3 hours. And they might overrun a bit. So, when you're on there, allow 3.5 hours, just in case. Now, we run them in weekday mornings, weekday evenings, and on Saturday mornings as well. So you've got different times. There's usually one a week. There's one a week between now and the end of September. The next one is the 23rd, so this Saturday, 23rd of August. And my colleague Melody will be hosting that, and there's lots of recorded videos, and we just really condense that down, so you're just getting the hardcore knowledge of how to make buy, refurb, refinance work. So hey, if you're watching this, book yourself on there, BRR Workshops. You're gonna great. Oh, you're gonna book on one of the next ones and go from there. Yeah, well, I'll watch out for your booking then, Keith. As I say, I've been training people long enough. This is now my 13th year of training people on buy, refurb, refinance, and I can tell you that you are, with your trades background, you are supremely well placed to make BRR work for you. So pretty much look. If it was a mile race, you've got half-mile start. Do you know what I mean? So there we are. So that's good. Great. Thanks for your interaction. Thanks for spending your holiday watching my videos, Keith. But there we are. So hey, if you're watching this, why don't you join Keith and come along to one of the BRR workshops, 3-hour virtual live streams hosted by my colleague Melody. Come along. There we are. Christian, hey, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Well, good to see you post. You know what I mean. Do you have any tips for qualifying properties for serviced accommodation. Okay, so do you mean, hang on. Here we go. Okay, so predicting its occupancy rate. It's a good question, actually. So there are holiday let companies or serviced accommodation agents, like, for example, Sykes. Now, Sykes, I mean, they're massive. They own, they own a number of brands like cottages.com and a number of other brands that sit under the umbrella company of Sykes. Now, you can contact Sykes and they would give you a review. Sometimes they have business managers that will pop out and do a viewing on your property or potential property, and they would tell you what they think the occupancy rate would be. They'll also give you what they think you should charge. Now, my understanding, don't quote me on this, but my understanding is that's a free of charge service. So it's a quote, if you like. If you use them, and what a lot of people do is they do use them if they've never done service accommodation before. Of course, they haven't got the marketing. So you've got a service accommodation property, who the hell knows? Because, and getting yourself on booking.com or Airbnb, yes, you can do that, but you haven't got the reach necessarily. So first-time service accommodation operators often plug into Sykes's reach, because if you want to book a service accommodation site or holiday accommodation and you don't want to go in a hotel, Sykes is one of the, certainly in the UK, is one of the places people go to search. So you can sort of plug into their marketing reach, at least in the first year or two, to give you some traction. But yeah, so Sykes should be able to give you a projection on what occupancy percentage you would get, and also what you can charge. So hopefully that helps. It's good to spend some time with you. When was that? A few weeks ago, wasn't it? You jumped on a Zoom session with me. Good. Cam's, hey Cam, how you doing? Love it to hear your voice. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, okay. But of course, you're in my training community, aren't you? So you get to hear my voice more than others. So there we are. Hey, look, Cam's at she's done my Ninja Investor Program training, so she's got all the training that I provide, and she's also in my Ninja Aspirers mentoring group. So we meet up monthly. Usually, 2 months out of 3 is a Zoom session on a Monday evening, and on the 3rd month it's a full day on a Friday. And we met up in Leeds in July. We're going to meet up in October. Can't remember where that is now. Might be Birmingham. But there we are. So Cam, good to see you. There we are. And hey, we've got to have a chat about achievers, haven't we? So there we are. So we got there we are. Good to see you. Questions coming in thick and fast now. So there we are. This is good. We've hit I normally say I'm on here for half an hour from 8:30. So we've just gone 9 o'clock. So we've rolled that over. And we still got questions. And, my commitment, I'll never leave this Q&A without answering all the questions. So if you've got more questions, I'm not so rude as to say, sorry, your time's out. So there we are. So here's another one of my mentees from a few years ago. Naden, how you doing? Haven't seen you lately, buddy. Nice to see you. Nice to see your question. Good morning, Kevin. Well, good morning, Naden. If you had to look for a dilapidated property outside in an area that you don't know, what would you have done as due diligence checklists, and what are the risks of doing so? Okay, the biggest risk of looking for a property in an area that you don't know is that you don't know what good value looks like. Yeah, you're not embedded in values in that area. That's not, part of your knowledge bank. So you run the risk of, two things. Run the risk of overpaying because you don't understand what value looks like in that area. And also you run the risk of buying potentially in the wrong street. I mean, if if it's a nice area, it doesn't really apply. But if it's a cheaper area, there are streets that any local would know you don't really want to be buying in that street. 3 streets along, no problem at all. That street, big problem. So it's this sort of degree of local knowledge. So that's the real issue, is that you don't know what you're buying. Due diligence. Well, you're going to have to immerse yourself in researching values, areas. There's websites now you can go on and give you crime rates, school reports, like, are they good schools or indifferent schools, all that sort of thing. So these sort of things would be doing that. And even better, if you can find someone with local knowledge that you can tap into, that would be a good way to do it as well. But my guidance, you remember this from when you train with me, Naden, is my guidance is to invest as close to home as you can. The only reason why you wouldn't invest close to home is because it was financially prohibitive to do so. So if you're operating on a more limited budget and you live in a more affluent area, which is usually London and the surrounding counties, not exclusively so, but you've got places like Oxford and Cambridge, and certain parts of Cheshire that are quite pricey. But that may force you to go out. But generally, you should be looking no more than 60 minutes drive from where you live. I don't hold with this. Invest 5 or 6 hours from where you live. I think that's a fallacy. I know it's taught a lot, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the trainers that teach you, you've got to go up north. It's rubbish, really. You don't have to go up north at all. I mean, and hey, if you're watching this from up north, you don't want people coming from the south, coming up there and nicking all your properties, do you? No, you want them for yourself, and quite rightly so, you should. But look, here's the thing. Trainers that say you've got to go north, the reason they're saying that is they don't understand how finance works. Because pretty much if you know how finance works, pretty much you can wherever you live, you can whatever money you've got available, you should be able to afford to buy properties within an hour, 90 minutes most of where you live. And certainly that's my experience, really. So there you go, Nathan. I think that's where we're at. So we've got Mohammed coming in now. So he says, "Hi, Keith." Where's Keith? And you corrected yourself. Hi, Kevin. No worries. Good. I'm just teasing you a bit there. Good. So, have you come across this issue? Well, let's see what issue you're going to tell me about. You've got a property on rent. Okay, so you're renting out a property you own, but the tenancy is with a care company who house young adults. You're struggling for a mean mortgage. You would do. I know exactly why you're struggling for a mortgage. Is this classed as a commercial let or a social let? It's commercial let. The fact that they're a care company is not the issue. Now, Mohammed, just so you know, no standard buy-to-let lender is going to touch this with a barge pole. Yep. And if you think they are, or if you thought that was it when you've bought it, I'm guessing when you said you've already got it, so you bought it, maybe you bought it on a buy-to-let mortgage, and you've now changed the way you rent it out from tenants on an AST to a lease with a care company. Okay, why is it commercial? Really simple, Mohammed. Because you're now got a commercial lease on it. So your care company have signed, I don't know, 2, a 3, or a 5-year lease agreement with you that effectively they've taken off you the responsibility to find tenants. So they're saying, we're going to pay you to have that property. We'll get our tenants for our particular thing, which is young adults that need some sort of care. And whether we've got it full, half full, or empty, you still get the rent. So it's a commercial contract. It should also be, if you've done this correctly, a full repair and insuring lease. In other words, that they're responsible for maintenance, not you. And when they give it back to you at the end of the contract, they should have kept up the maintenance, and they should have give it back to you in the same condition that they took it out when the rental agreement started. So this is a commercial lease. It's no different really to the whether you had a shop and you had a tenant in the shop trading from that shop. It's the same principle. It's the same type of lease. So therefore, you're only going to get mortgages for this with commercial mortgage lenders. Yeah. Now, is that going to be a problem? No, because commercial mortgage lenders lend on commercial leases. Now, if you've found that's a problem, it's just because, right, 2 things. One is you didn't realize what type of lender dealt with this. That'd be understandable if you've never done it before. Secondly, you've gone to a standard mortgage broker who hasn't got a clue what they're doing and is out of their depth. And so they can't find a mortgage lender for you because they don't know what they're doing. Now, I'm not being harsh or diminishing them, but this is not their speciality. They just do standard buy-to-let mortgages, and usually main residence ones as well. Now, guess what? We know how to get these mortgages. So that'll be our investment broker in the brokerage, which is Isaac, who's an amazing guy. Now, if you want Isaac to find you a mortgage, he will. Now, you're coming in through Facebook, okay? So just message me. Here, let me give you the link to message me. Very simple link to message me. I'm just going to pop that up here. Just getting the right link and then cutting and pasting it. There we go. So I'm just popping that in the chat. I'm going to put this up on screen now for you, Mohammed. There we are. So just go on facebook.com/Kevin Wright Property and just fire me a message in there. And give me contact details. What we'll do is we'll get need your email address. I'll get the brokerage to email you out our fact find. Just complete and return that fact find. Isaac will do some research for you onto the products available, and then he'll report back with his findings, and we'll make that happen for you. Good. So really appreciate your question, Mohammed. Here we are. Get you back on there. Yeah. So there you go. I know exactly why you're struggling, and I know exactly how to relieve your struggle. Anyway, great question. Thank you very much. Nathan's come back again. You would normally know equal amount of info about an area 100 miles away or 10. Would you? Okay. All right. Okay. So then there you go. All well and good. Roger's coming on there through YouTube. Hey, Roger, how you doing? You're asking me how you doing. Well, I'm saying it back to you. How you doing? Yeah, I'm doing great. How you doing? You've been away. Okay. Catch up soon. You've got plenty of questions. Great. Okay. Well, feel free to store them up for Monday. if there's no urgency. If there is urgency, I can't remember if you're in my Facebook group or not. Let's put this up on. There we are. Let's put that up on there. There, Roger. If you can't wait till next Monday, and I will be doing one next Monday. If you can't wait till next Monday, then just join my group. Or if you're already in my group, fire your question in there. And there we go. Get on Facebook /groups/recycle your cash. Come and fire your question in there. If you can't wait till next Monday, but I'll be back next Monday. So we seem to be out of questions. There we are. That's okay. And now, if you want to ask a question, got to be quick. Nicoletta, hey, how you doing? Morning. There we are. Yeah, good to see you. Nicoletta's one of my, actually Nicoletta's, not only is she one of my mentees, but she's, it's not long now, is it? It's a couple of months, just under a couple of months. We're going to be going out to France on a 5-day retreat to kick off her year on Ninja Achievers. Now, Ninja Achievers is my top level 12-month mentorship program. And we go out to really cook it for 5 days. And then we come back and meet monthly. And it's proper accountability because Nicoletta's going to have a hot seat session. We'll do one in France, Nicola, to start you off. And then every month after that, Nicola and the rest of that cohort, there's never more than 10 places on that cohort. It's quite elitist, if you want to put that word on it. Nicoletta's going to give me 4 to 6 things she's going to do in the next 4 weeks. And I'll document that. I'll circulate that to the rest of the group, rest of the cohort. And in 4 weeks' time, I'll say, hey, Nicoletta, you said you were going to do this, 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 and this, and this. What happened? Now, guys, that's accountability. Do you know what happens when accountability like that? You get results. So I've got a cohort that I'm currently running there. They started in April, so they're kicking off now. We do one in April, one in October. I only do 2 a year. Please check your WhatsApp. Yep, I've seen your message. Just haven't got around to responding to it yet. So no worries. Good. There we go. So I think we're about out of questions. It's been a very interesting one this morning. So if you're watching the replay, thank you. If you're watching the live one, thanks. If you watched it all the way from the beginning, big thanks. If you've popped in halfway through, well, you can just go on the replay. Go into Kevin Wright Property. It's on there. There we are. Just go on there and you can watch the replay. Feel free to comment. Love you to comment. And that. And if you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay so that I may have watched it. That'd be really good. So there we go. I think we're done for this week. Really enjoyed today. Nathan's saying thanks. No worries. Yeah, you're very welcome. Good to see you. Haven't seen you for a while. There we go. So I'll be back and I'll do it all again a week from now. So have a fab week and I'll see you next Monday. Bye for now.